She came to the rescue. She was so kind of saying, you know that little thing's got a magnifying glass with a plus thing in it? It's like, oh yeah.
I had the other ones in my closet, I think that you brought me. Oh, yeah, I got you. We got one. I have ours still.
Okay, are you ready? Good evening. I'm told it's 6:01. This is the September 4th, 2024 Newry Planning Board meeting. First on the agenda is determine attendance and determination of quorum. We have 2 members present, and 2 alternates present, so we got a quorum.
We have all 3 members
Yeah.
So,
That's what it's I'm here. Sorry about that. Number 2, voting eligibility. All 5 of us were here at the last meeting, so we're all eligible to vote at this meeting. And number 3 is election of officers.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda and to relocate election of officers down to between items 6 and 7 in order to be able to expedite our applicants' business.
That's a motion.
I made a motion.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we move item 3 to between items 6 and 7. All those in favor?
1,
2, 3. Done. Number 4, minutes of prior meeting.
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the minutes as written. All those in favor?
1,
2, 3, done. Oh, business. Business A, application number 24-280, the Pines of Sunny River, Sunny River Pine Group LLC. Agent is Mainland Development, Bob Berry. Hi, Bob.
Hello, Mr. Chairman.
Final plan review.
Well, I believe all of the approvals happened last time, and we're here to sign plans, which I brought. At your pleasure, Mr. Chairman.
I'll jump at once.
What?
I'll jump at once.
Is it easier for him just to roll them out on a small table and you come
I
to
think
him,
so.
please?
Yep.
I've got a black pen. Oh, awesome. Good. You want to keep your cards down with the registry happy?
We'll fill in her mutilated.
3 copies of the plan. Thank you.
If it's okay, I'll pause the tape while you guys are signing the plans.
My lips are sealed.
There you go.
Oh, let's see. Today's date. The 4th.
Paper and you send me papers. Who did that?
So while we're not having a meeting. What's the? In the shaft, actually, in the shaft, or was it out in the transformer?
Pen? Yeah. He's got to push it 2 years out.
It's not leftover from COVID days.
Okay, good. Oh, good. Yeah, that was 81. Yes, I'll never forget that. Okay, good. Okay.
And then,
And I also contacted them to, they're coming out to do their inspection.
we're not so big that that.
And we're going to bring us to why this was happening.
I would
When they're on
think
site,
that
they thought,
Well, it's funny you say that, but it was a matter of the barometric pressure or some type of pressure in the air that night.
Yeah.
We had had the smoke smell like the day before too.
Yeah.
It was like, is it just
I thought you were only
down the
60.
chimney because of the way the air was
I
moving
thought
down?
you were only
That's what we
68.
think it was.
Well, at least 70 on.
Yep.
So I technically wanted to set it in.
I never had it.
Great grandfather.
Are you guys all done signing?
Yes. I didn't see that. Okay, Bob, we've signed them all. One goes to registry, one stays here, and
How many stay here?
one stays
Just
here.
one is all I need. I can get everything else I ever need off the registry anyway.
Okay.
We have a question for the board, if that's all right. The next meeting is the signing of the findings of fact, is that correct?
Well, it's not really the signing, they review them and vote to accept them,
Okay.
and then I will send them to the address that's in your application, along with a letter saying you get that whole time.
I guess my question is, we don't need to be here.
No,
I asked Bob to ask that question. I wasn't gonna speak for the board.
no, it's actually, for me, it's better than not, because I record in the finding of facts, it records every meeting that you guys attend and present this application. So that's why I couldn't have them ready for tonight, just in case more discussion was done, or motions were made, since you're still in.
Thank you.
Andrew, well, they know that
It's a little
the
bit
check's here
before.
for the third party inspection.
Yes, Becky's got that for the permanent
Right,
record.
that's been
Yeah.
paid. Okay. Thank you for all your time.
Thank you.
I have
Thank
not
you for bearing
heard
with
from
us.
Steve.
We appreciate it.
I have not heard back from Steve from that email, just so you know.
Could you scan that and send it to,
No, I'm sorry.
You can download those copies if you want. We'll do it out there. Thank you again very much.
Thank you.
You're on.
Thank you.
See ya.
Good to see you.
Oh, so Brooks.
Nothing exciting?
It's Bethel, I can't go anywhere. My first priority is Newry, and I'm here. So unless it was a structure fire, then I'd be there.
Are you recording?
Yeah, I saw you shooting there.
Okay.
Do you want this for your permanent record for now, and then you'll give it back to me and put in the file?
Is this exactly what?
It's exactly the same, just without signatures.
Yeah, I have what I need.
Okay.
This is what I need.
Very good.
I'll put it in the file.
We're ready for B? Business. Item B, Jordan bathroom building in the Jordan ski lifts basin area, map R12-026.
You can tell I don't ski, because I'm not quite sure what to call that area, but I think I covered it.
Yep.
Okay.
Here.
You want to state your name?
Peter Roberts here on behalf of Sunday River Skiway Corporation. I got a check for the permit fee for Joel.
Thank you.
I sent a copy of the application by email and also paper copies. So seeking questions, comments, whatever comes next on your agenda.
Do we have a checkoff list, Warren?
You did have. You want to start it? I thought you guys all had something.
I don't need a copy, I just, the charities, make sure.
Okay, let's see. Type of review is a site plan. All right. Okay, does the planning board have jurisdiction?
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion, whereas the applicant, Sunday River Skiway Incorporated, operates a recreational area for commercial purposes, and whereas the applicant is proposing the construction of a new structure within the recreational area, therefore, by section 1C2 of the Unified Development Review Ordinance for the town of Newry, I make the motion that the planning board has jurisdiction.
I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded that the planning board has jurisdiction of this application. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Has the applicant provided proof of ownership, deed, purchase, sale, agreement, long-term lease?
Mr. Chairman, whereas the applicant holds a lease for the land in question as recorded with the Oxford County Registry of Deeds, Book 1095, page 114, I motion that the applicant, Sunday River Skiway Incorporated, has adequately demonstrated proof of ownership.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that the applicant has proof of ownership. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. Does the agent have a letter of authorization to represent the property owner?
Mr. Chairman, whereas the planning board has received a letter dated September 8th, 2022, from one Dana Bullen, president of Sunday River Skiway Incorporated, in which agency is given to Peter Roberts to represent Sunday River Skiway before the board in all matters dealing with site plan applications, I motion that Peter Roberts is authorized to represent the applicant.
I'll second that motion.
So moved and seconded that the applicant has authorization to represent the property owner. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. Does any board members have any bias or conflict of interest?
I do not.
I do not.
For the record, I am an employee of the Sunday River Skiway Incorporated in the capacity of a shuttle bus driver. I am not a member of the management team nor in a position with management to be affected by or to affect any process brought before this board.
I make the motion that the board members do not have any bias or conflict of interest.
Do we need to review the alternates first or not?
Well, I suppose we could.
I also am an employee of Sunday River with the title of Vice President of Lodging.
And do you have any
I have no
conflict
connection
of
to
this? Okay.
Thankfully. Sorry, don't put that on there. Don't put that on there, no,
Okay.
that's not gonna benefit me.
Rob?
I have absolutely nothing to do with Sunday River. I am not an employee, I've not, never been an employee, I'm not associated with them in any way.
Okay. I believe all board members do not have a conflict of interest.
You made the motion. I'll second the motion.
Okay, I make a motion that all board members do not have bias or conflict of interest.
I second that.
And you seconded it, okay. It's been moved and seconded that board members do not have bias or conflict of interest. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. Okay. Is any additional escrow needed?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that the planning board does not need to obtain an outside engineering review of this application, and therefore there is no need for an escrow account.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that there is no need for an additional escrow account. All those in favor?
1,
2, 3. Allow applicant time to explain their project.
Okay, I think most of this we covered in the pre-application meeting, but what generally we're planning to do is put a 600 square foot bathroom facility in the Jordan Basin area of the resort, which is fairly remote and doesn't have any public bathrooms that are typically made available to the general guests within probably a mile or so. It's also connected to food and beverage license for if you are planning to operate and will be coming as a separate application.
And there'll be a men's side, a ladies' side, I assume.
Yep, utility room, and we got a small ticket kiosk area on the other end of the building that will hopefully use for a place for people to diagnose any issues with their ski pass.
Okay. And are the food trucks connected to this at all?
Yeah, so adjacent, part of this application, adjacent to a building, there's gonna be a pad of either gravel or concrete for a couple of food trucks, and we wanna have permanent utility hookups for the food trucks, to alleviate some of the problems we've had with generators and, transporting small propane tanks in the past.
So they'll have electricity, they'll have water in, water out.
I think they will still be filling a portable tank with a hose, but not having to walk nearly as far. And then wastewater out is tentatively the plan. Although some of them aren't set up for permanent wastewater connections, we may end up having them carry a tank as well.
You're talking about the food truck,
For the
not the
food trucks,
bathrooms.
not for the bathrooms.
Do they hook on these propane supply that you have?
Yeah, their plan is to place two stationary.
But, so you're talking about food trucks, right?
Yes.
But this is the application.
This isn't to do anything with food trucks.
I'm just wondering how many utilities we're gonna have.
Well, I do show on the site plan a pad for putting food trucks next to the bathroom building.
Yeah, I saw that.
As well as a new propane pad,
Yep.
rather large, with the looks of it. What size tank, so you put it?
Tentatively planning to start with two 1,000-gallon tanks and then add a third if we need it, because we won't be able to refill them. So whatever we have for propane when we fill up in the fall is going to be all the food trucks have for the season. So looking at heating load.
So once the season starts rolling, there's no wheel-tired access to this location?
Yeah, that's true.
That was my question, these are in the fall and out in the spring, so there's no motorized access on a regular basis in and out of there.
You get towed in occasionally by snowcats, right?
Yeah, I think that's something we're trying to not do anymore.
What about wastewater from these food trucks?
The food trucks, we are still determining whether or not we're going to have a hard piped connection to a septic tank, or if the food truck operator will be taking a pail of gray water in to dump into the mop sink in the utility.
Is that what they're doing now up at the Outback? Must be a lovely job.
Well, the food trucks don't have bathrooms, so all they have is gray water from, generally from hand and dishwashing.
Maybe a little grease.
Did you say that?
Maybe a little grease.
Yeah.
Great water.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that Form 10.1 for application 24-283 is complete.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that Form 10.1 is complete. All those in favor?
1,
2,
3.
Mr. Chairman, whereas the applicant's parcel that this project is located on is greater than 1,500 acres, more or less. And the number of abutters that would be required as per the definition of our ordinance for notification is excessively high, especially in view of the fact that within 1,000 feet of the site project, there are no abutters. The applicant has requested a waiver from the submission requirement of abutter notification. And I'll make the motion that we grant that waiver.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded that we grant the applicant a waiver of butters to this parcel.
Butter notification.
Butter notification to this parcel, there we go. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that the, having granted the waiver for a butter notification, the applicant has completed Form 10.2. Get somebody to.
oh, second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the applicant has completed section 10.2. All those in favor? Up, up.
Is the project located within a shoreline zone? They check yes.
No.
It is not.
It is not.
No.
That's because the yes and the no are flip-flopped and somebody went automatically to the right.
Well, I just want to make a note of that it is not in shoreline zone.
Yeah,
before we
I'm
make
sure
a
Peter will
motion.
correct that.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that something that we can correct in ink or?
Yes, you can correct
I was wondering where the shoreline zone was. I figured he'd tell us.
I'll just speak with my proofreader.
Yes.
It's clearly their fault.
that. Darn AI.
See, there's a motion on the floor that the applicant has completed Form 10.2. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3.
Let's see, we talked about the food truck pad. There's some, not that the gray water is of an issue, it's of interest. And then we also talked about the propane tank. I'm good with 10.3, anybody else good? Everybody else good with 10.3?
We'll get there.
We don't have any issues with that.
Okay.
Since I've been steamrolling here, I guess I should use up a bit.
But I appreciate the effort for speed.
Yeah, no, I don't see anything.
I will put out the motion, Mr. Chairman, that Form 10.3 is complete.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that Form 10.3 is complete. All those in favor?
1,
2,
3.
Peter, did you bring an additional waiver request for tonight?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we needed to request a waiver for, from the requirement for a performance guarantee, so I prepared a letter to that effect. I know there was some discussion last time about the board not being able to waive performance guarantees, and I wasn't clear if it
Well, there's
changed in the new ordinance or not.
there is a change in the ordinance
Okay.
where performance guarantees may not be waived for minor and major subdivisions.
Okay, so,
They, inferring that they may be waived if the applicant so requests, or
so I'll hand this out and then I
site
can
plan.
read it out loud for the record.
Thank you.
Read this into the record, you said, Pete.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
Before me is a letter from Sunny River dated 4th September 2024. Read, Sunny River Skiway Corp. Jordan Basin Bathrooms. Dear Chairman, Sunny River Skiway Corp. Is requesting a waiver from the Newry UDRO performance guarantee requirements. The proposed project is minor in nature and does not require construction of any civil infrastructure to serve any persons or entity other than the applicant. We believe that this waiver does not nullify the intent or purpose of the comprehensive plan or any ordinance, including the UDRO. Sincerely, Peter Roberts, P.E.
Mr. Chairman, the letter refers to section 21 of the ordinance titled Performance Guarantees. And in section A, in the first paragraph, about the third sentence down, let's see. The planning board shall not waive the requirement of a performance guarantee on an application for a subdivision, major or minor. The actual guarantee is not required to be tendered until 5 days prior. In that language, it infers that a waiver could be granted for a site plan application.
That's the interpretation.
That is the secretary's interpretation.
I sort of agree with the secretary.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Would the secretary like to make a motion on that? Yeah.
Hold on, I'm in making all the other ones.
What?
Never mind. Mr. Chairman, in view of the applicant's request for waiver of a performance guarantee, and given that the project under review is relatively minor in nature and is not a subdivision, I therefore move that we accept or approve the waiver guarantee, or the waiver request.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and seconded that in light of the project, it's not what I wanted to say, but that this waiver be granted. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. Okay.
With that being done, Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that Form 10.4 is complete.
And I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded that section or form 10.4 is complete. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make the motion.
oh, thank you.
That will a site plan be held for this project? I do
Site
not-
visit.
I'm sorry, will a site visit be held for this project? I do not believe that a site visit with all the information that we have received will be needed for this project.
I will second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that a site visit will not be held for this project. All those in favor?
1,
2,
3.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion. On item next, it says, will a public hearing be held for this project due to the information that we received and the requirements that have been met above, that a public hearing will not be needed for this project.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded that a public hearing will not be needed for this project. All those in favor?
1,
2,
3. Okay, so now we're down to, will the applicant meet the performance guarantee requirement?
that has already been resolved.
It's already been resolved.
10.4.
That's what I thought.
yep.
Check it off.
Okay. Are any waivers being requested by the applicant? I think we've already discussed that too.
Yeah, any waivers, yeah. If yes, each waiver must be voted on with a formal motion. And I believe we've already voted on that.
You've already done that.
We've already done that, okay.
Yeah.
Are any conditions of approval being placed on this application?
As amazing as it might be, I have none.
I don't see any.
It's a bathroom.
What did you say?
Becky's gonna buy a lottery ticket.
One for me too. So is that a motion?
Is the motion required?
No, it doesn't, it says if yes, each condition must be voted on with a formal motion, and there is no motion, so.
No conditions?
Nope.
So just a check mark? Okay. The board proceeds to review all performance standards applicable to this application.
How would the board like to do this? We had 34 performance standards that we have to plow through. Can we just look at them as a whole and then make one motion at the end, or do we need to, does the board prefer to have 34 separate motions?
I just assume both are all.
I think you can just go through them
All
and
good.
make motions on anything that applies, but anything that doesn't apply.
Becky, what do you think of if we take Form 10.5 and pen and ink into the planning board notes, and then could that be either added to the minutes or added to the application file?
Yeah, I think so.
You're good with that? Okay, so this is 24 to
If there's
83.
anything that does apply, I think you should actually make a motion.
Yes, yeah.
What did you just hand out?
The
10.5
performance standard
form.
thing, oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking everyone's got one. It's just that Ted had made up a letter.
I won't write on it, I'll just read it.
For the record, we're reviewing Section 13, Performance Standards of the Uniform Development Review Act. The first performance standard, which is Section A, is conformance with the comprehensive plan. I'll make the motion that the applicant, or the application is centered around an already existing recreation area, which is central to our comprehensive plan, and therefore the applicant is in conformance with the comprehensive plan.
That was a motion.
That was a motion.
I will second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that this application covers a project that is in conformance with our comprehensive plan. Mr. Colt, right? All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. Municipal services.
And Mr. Chairman, municipal services are not applicable.
I believe you're correct. Preservation and enhancement of the landscape.
Preservation and enhancements of the landscape have been reviewed extensively in previous applications, primarily the Jordan Lift most recently. And there was no issues with that, and this is well within that umbrella.
Okay.
So I would make the motion that it is in conformance with preservation and enhancement of the landscape.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that this is in conformance with the preservation and enhancement of the landscape. All those in favor?
1,
2,
3. Relation of proposed dwellings and buildings to the environment.
it's a low aspect building.
Yeah.
It's not readily visible from any vantage point other than,
As compared to the list, it's really not too far from it.
right,
Can hardly see it.
and the only people that will be able to see it are probably the ones who want to use it.
and then there's the diversion of the food truck vision, so, yeah.
I would say that we were in compliance with the proposed building to the environment.
I'll second that.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded that these buildings are in Compliance, is that the right word?
In relationship to the proposed buildings. To the environment.
That they meet the performance standard for,
Okay, they meet the performance standards of relationship to proposed dwellings, to proposed buildings for the environment. All those in favor?
1,
2,
3. Land not suitable for building.
It is suitable for building.
Well, according to this map, number 2, 3, not showing any wetlands.
the line is well above normal high water mark for any water body.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't see any water bodies.
And it's a long way from the 100-year floodplain.
Ooh, yes.
And other than the whole area is a lease, it's not part of a permanent road right of way or permanent road easement. And there's been no filling of or draining of a pond or wetland. Nor has, from previous reviews, primarily the George Lipp review that was conducted 2 years ago, any significant wildlife habitat or marine depart, let me rephrase that. There's been no cited significant wildlife habitat. Words to that effect. So I would say it's in compliance.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that it's compliant with the thought that land not suitable for building is met. How's that sound?
Not as good as my mumbling.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. I mean, all those in
1,
favor?
2,
3. Topsoil and vegetation removal. Peter, looking at your map number 2, 3, are there any trees in this area to start with?
The building, no, but there's a few trees that need to get cleared for the propane pad.
but they're off on a little bit of elevation too, right?
Yeah, they're,
Like a couple feet from or whatever.
they're not-
It looks from the drawing that you're building up a little bit here.
yeah, what we want to do is match the sill height of the building to the finished floor of the igloo. So when you're walking on ice to the bathroom, you're on a level surface and not trying to like navigate down some slope.
You've referred to this igloo before. What is it?
It's a huge igloo made out of ice. I can show you pictures at some point if you want. I think that inside, there are 4 chambers inside of it. The main chamber, I think, is 10 meters wide by 8 meters tall, I think, so it's a pretty significant size. It's a parabolic arch, so it creates a really interesting acoustic cavity too. They like to geek out on that kind of thing. But basically it's created by blowing snow with a snow blower onto a balloon that holds the form of the interior. And then after the snow is solidified for a couple of days, the balloon gets deflated and pulled out.
I mean, you're not gonna cut blocks and stack them?
No.
Wow.
And this is a temporary structure and gets built in the same place the next year?
Yeah, and I think as Joel pointed out last time when we were here for the pre-app, that her further review of the UDRO would require a site development permit for that. temporary structure, so it's something we're planning to get a permit for in the next couple coming meetings.
So this hasn't been built yet?
No,
There was one built last year. There was an administrative error in that the belief that it being a temporary building, a site plan application was not required. If we review the definition of a structure in the UDRO, it includes temporary structures. And therefore, Sunday River will be coming before the board later to get that, with that application.
Okay.
And I think your hope is that you can get one that is in perpetuity.
yes, there's another guy that's working with me named Carson, just trying to find a, hopefully not too what's the word I'm looking for?
Convoluted?
Convoluted or oppositional application for him to come before the board and present his own. So I think he's gonna be the one that does that, but yeah, I think he is scheduled for a pre-application on the 18th, and then we'll come in October to present the final application.
So it's, at this time, there's no sense complicating this application with that.
No, I think next week, I'll be here in the audience and whatever information, if you guys need further information on how these things are put together or anything like that, that would be a good time to,
I'm curious.
yeah, be a good time to talk about, if we need pictures or any sort of.
But for right now, it's just a distractor that we shouldn't really spend a lot of time on, so we can get on with this.
Okay.
But there, how much fill are you bringing in?
200 cubic yards, I think, comes to mind.
It looked like you were going to raise it like 5 feet or
Yeah.
5 or 6 feet.
How many cubic yards?
I believe it's 200 cubic yards. I'll have to look back.
And is it going to be, are you going to have a frost wall on this, or is it just going to be a berm on the pad?
Yeah, it's frost walls and a slab on grade.
Okay, so a 4-foot frost wall or something?
Okay, back to F.
Back to F.
Back to F. Topsoil and vegetation removal. Not a lot of vegetation removal. And
If I could make a statement, the topsoil that gets removed from the site usually gets screened and then reapplied to the fill extensions after we're done, so it is removed and then reapplied, it doesn't really leave the site.
okay.
I think the applicant will meet the performance requirements for topsoil and vegetation removal.
That was a motion?
I'll make the motion that the applicant has demonstrated compliance with topsoil and vegetation removal performance standard.
I'll second that motion.
Then moved and seconded that the applicant has demonstrated topsoil and vegetation removal. All those in favor?
1, 2.
3.
Before we go on, can I ask a question about it? Because it's about removal, is the bringing in fill even affected by the UDR?
I mean, like the 200 yards, cubic yards they're gonna bring
We're
in?
talking about bringing in the fill for making the pattern.
Not on section F, but if you go to, where is it, where it says about contours?
Okay, so
Agricultural.
So the only way it would matter is if it really affects the lay of the land.
Yeah. There is a, I think we haven't gotten there yet, the performance standards where we significantly do not want to change the topography of the area.
Yeah, I do remember that one, I was just asking if this one, because it feels like it's not in the big scope of things.
It's under J,
It's not
site
removable.
conditions number 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember if it's in the UDRO or just in state law, but there are laws in place about stripping topsoil to use in other places.
Yes.
So I know the DEP regulates, like, you can't buy farmland, strip all the topsoil off of it and truck it away and not revegetate with anything.
And the UDRO under section J, site conditions, along that line, doesn't want a development to significantly change the topography by either adding or removing vast quantities of yeah, that it probably stems from your initial comment there. All right, erosion and sediment control. The applicant has submitted an erosion and sediment control plan, which is drawing number 3. I'll take the opportunity there, Peter, to point out my pet peeve. You look at item number 7, under Maine DEP Chapter 500 Housekeeping Standards. 7A. Specifically talks about concrete washout, stucco paint. So if you would make sure that you have a proper washout facility for your.
Yeah, I added a separate note on the cover sheet about that, because I know we talked about this last time. On the EC plan, I could probably just remove it for town applications with the state, or our state. I don't know if inspector is the right word, but the person that would review our state applications asked that the direct language out of chapter 500 housekeeping standards be copied and pasted on all the drawings. And so I know you had asked for elaboration on that, so the cover sheet should have a note that we had worked out in the last application.
I just know how easy it is to wash out the nearest side, roadside. Couple bales of hay and some landscaping block would go a long way. So I'll make the motion that the applicant has demonstrated that they will meet the standards for erosion and sediment control.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that the applicant has met the criteria for erosion and sediment control. All those in favor?
1, 2.
3. Stormwater management.
I believe the applicant has stated that the stormwater management system that was put in place for the Jordan lift that was done 2 years ago will cover this area. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I reviewed, at the request of the board, the stormwater plan and permit for the Jordan lift to make sure that this isn't going to interfere with anything in that. And I don't see anything that would be a conflict.
Now that whole meadow there, Peter, is, would I be incorrect in saying it acts as a detention pond for water coming down from, say, Lollapalooza or Rogue Angel or?
So at the bottom of State Fair, ski trail, there's a catch basin in front, in the portal of the chairlift that would take water and bring it to the north of where this building's going.
Okay.
And then on where Firestar comes in, the whole, I guess would be south end of that meadow, there's a huge berm across that captures all the little runoff fingerling streams that come out of the woods and direct them across to the bottom of Firestar.
That leaves Alapalooza.
There wasn't anything in the permit for the Jordan 8 lift that affected Lollapalooza.
You did, but your plan for that project shows a water flow coming down Lollapalooza going into that meadow area.
For the Jordan project?
Yes,
Okay.
there's, you had one, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it was showing the water flows coming down the different ski trails, and it showed a water flow coming down Lollapalooza towards that meadow, and so it looks to me like that meadow is acting as a natural retention.
Got this here.
Most of the, there's a 5-foot diameter culvert at the bottom of the steep section of Lollapalooza coming down from the hotel where it flattens out. And that captures all the water that comes down through Blind Ambition and puts it underneath the ski trail.
Okay.
And then from that flatter section at the bottom where the service road comes out on Lollapalooza, there's a ditch on the right-hand side of the service road as you drive out onto the trail. And so all the sheet flow from the bottom of Excalibur and Lollapalooza end up in that roadside ditch, and there's a culvert that brings it underneath the road.
But that you're saying sheet flow, that doesn't imply any retention.
There's a detention pond. The state requires buffering of all the water that comes off the roof. It's like 8,000 square foot flat roof. So on a hot day, they don't want the water hit the hot roof, warm up to 90 degrees, and then go into the brook. So there's a detention pond that is specifically for capturing roof runoff that we built as part of that project.
Back to my original question, does that meadow retain rainwater and slowly release it into Merle Brook or not?
Not as part of any permit, no.
But does it do it in a natural course?
To a certain extent, it probably does, yeah.
And so, well, let's see, we're building up. What would be the impact of this building on that?
We opted to put a culvert through the tow fill extension because the way the building's graded kind of retains water on the kind of northwestern side of the building. One of the issues that we ran into this spring, somebody last fall drove an off-road forklift through the diversion berm that I was talking about. So all that water coming out of the woods, instead of going across in the drainage channel where it's supposed to go, ended up coming down through the site where this building's going. So in the event of that happening again, the culvert's there to allow water to just flow by. And so
Well, that's the one that's on the drawing.
Yep.
The new one that's going in.
I'm happy. Sounds like you covered the bases on it.
I make a motion that the applicant has demonstrated quite good knowledge about stormwater management.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded that the applicant has shown good knowledge of stormwater management for this part of the world. All those in favor?
1, 2.
3. Borrow pits,
Not applicable.
not applicable. Site conditions. Let's see, this site is naked of trees, right?
Joelle, is this more of an enforcement issue, or?
I believe this is an enforcement issue.
I would say that this, for review, it's not applicable.
Okay. K,
Talking about the site conditions?
Correct.
K, plumbing. Is that an enforcement issue also?
That comes down to the LPI. Yep.
Okay. Water supply.
Same.
The water supply is coming off existing systems, is that the correct term?
I think there's a public water system existing out there.
2-inch water line that comes down.
That ought to be big enough. And it's a registered public water supply?
Yep.
Okay. I make a motion that the water supply is more than adequate and more than safe for this application.
Meets the performance standard.
There you go, that's the right word to use.
Okay, what was the word again?
Meets the performance
Meets the
standard.
performance standard, okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the water supply meets the performance standard. All those in favor?
1,
2.
3. Utilities.
you gonna have any lighting out there?
Talking about external lighting in the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, our electrician told us, National Electrical Code requires a light fixture at each exterior door of a public building. So I wrote a quick blurb in one of the sections of the application about typically what I've used is a manufacturer's RAB, but it's a downward facing wall pack that's black and it's got like either an LED or a halogen light in it.
You're not doing any floodlights or anything?
So,
Just so I can get out of the bathroom safely.
yeah.
Get back to,
Don't
get
get
back to
trapped in there in a
the,
blackout.
and all the utilities are all underground, correct?
Yes.
I'll make the motion that the applicant has demonstrated conformance with section M utilities of the performance standards.
Second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that the applicant has met the performance standards for utilities for this project. All those in favor?
1,
2.
3. Sign standards,
not applicable.
not applicable, okay? Oh, lighting standards.
Did we just talk about that?
I think we just talked about that. Okay. P, dust, fumes, vapors, gases.
We don't, we have to make a
odors,
motion on the lighting standards? I would make a motion that the lighting standards have met the performance standard of this application.
Okay, I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded that O, lighting standards, has been met. All those in favor?
1,
2.
3. P, dust, fumes, vapors, gases, odors, glare, and explosive materials. I would make a motion that that is not applicable.
I would agree with that.
Do you agree with it?
You agreed with it? And you seconded it? Okay. Okay. Q is reserved. R is
You
refuse.
gonna vote on it?
Hmm?
You gonna vote on
We haven't been voting on that.
We haven't been
Oh.
voting on those.
it? Okay.
Refuse disposal. I believe the applicant has said that they are going to use a private company to dispose of all refuse.
So it's two different, I guess, types of refuse, one being construction debris, the second being solid waste from operation of the building. We have a 80-yard roll-off can that we keep on lease from Casella. And so I don't think there's gonna be a lot of volume of construction debris, so we can put it in pickup trucks and bring it to that can, which is in lot 9 over on the main side of the resort. And then we lease dumpsters from Casella that stay at the end of the service road, probably 200 yards from the site. And then the Tri-Town waste agreement pays for the tipping of those through our tax dollars.
And what about like paper, you having paper towels, you just using air blowers?
That's what he was just talking about.
No.
Yeah, you
Oh.
can start with paper towels and see how that goes.
I'll make a motion that the applicant has demonstrated conformance with the refuge disposal performance requirement.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that the applicant has met the performance standards for refuse disposal. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. Protection of significant fisheries and wildlife habitat. There doesn't appear to be any fisheries.
So salamanders or owls.
Three-legged frogs.
I don't think this is applicable.
Okay. T, scenic locations. Let's see, this is at the bottom of the left, right?
So never get any complaints from Merle Hill residents, are we?
I make a motion that T, scenic locations is not applicable.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Moved and seconded that T, scenic
It doesn't
locations
need a
is not
vote.
applicable. All those in favor?
There doesn't need a
We're
vote.
not voting on
Doesn't need a
NAs.
vote. Okay, sorry about that.
Archaeological sites is not applicable because it's already been covered by, it's an existing recreation area that's been reviewed. Same with historic areas, same with agricultural protection buffer strips. Vehicular and pedestrian traffic, doesn't say anything about ski traffic.
I think that's already covered.
I would say all those, so T, U, V, W, and X are not applicable.
Okay. Groundwater protection.
If I could make a statement, we're not doing subsurface wastewater disposal, we're not storing or handling any chemicals in significant volume that would affect the quality of groundwater.
It's a relatively small project.
And everything's going up to the sewage treatment plant.
There's no aquifer underneath this property.
Not on the state's maps.
Yeah, it's not on ours either.
I make a motion that Y, groundwater protection, has been met.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that Y, groundwater protection has been met. All those in favor?
1,
2,
3. Z, noise. Seem to use of paper towels, not blowers, not a lot of noise.
push it once.
I don't think that's applicable.
I think it's not applicable.
Alrighty.
Buffers and screening standards. Oh. If you have a public bathroom, you probably want it to be not particularly well screened. You want them to be able to find the darn thing. Is that a good thought or bad thought?
I don't think there were any requests for buffers or vegetated screens.
You like a nice hedgerow out front.
That landscape.
I'm gonna make a motion that AA buffers and screen standards meets the performance standard.
No second.
Been moved and seconded that AA buffers and screens have been met. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3.
Section AB, home occupation doesn't apply. Section AC, life safety and fire suppression applies to subdivisions, and therefore that does not apply.
Commercial wind energy facilities,
Does not apply.
no apply.
Mineral exploration or extraction does not apply. Wireless communication, telecommunications facilities does not apply. AG, solar energy systems does not apply. AH, recreational lodging facilities does not apply.
We're done.
Mr. Chairman, having reviewed all 34 performance standards outlined in section 13 of the ordinance, and having done separate, the board has rephrase that. Having reviewed all 34 performance standards as outlined in section 13 of the ordinance, having found no issues with any of them, I will make an overall motion that the applicant is in compliance with the performance standards of the ordinance.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that the applicant is in conformance with the performance standards for 10.2, section 13 of the UDRO. All those in favor?
1, 2.
3. Okay, what's next?
Favorite chapter 5.
Page 21.
Criteria approval.
What is it, criteria of conduct, group, okay, minutes.
Tab numbers here. That's it.
It's section 5, page 21, Bruce.
Oh.
You flipped a lot of pages, eh?
Yeah, Here we go. Criteria approval.
There we go. Are we ready?
I'll ever be.
Okay. Criteria approval, A, pollution. The proposed development will not result in undue water or air pollution. In making this determination, it shall at least consider the elevation of the land above sea level, its relation to floodplains, well above floodplains, well above sea level, the nature of soils and subsoils, and their ability to adequately support waste disposal. The waste is being shipped off-site. Slope of the land and its effect on effluents. My,
There's no subsurface wastewater, so there's no effluent.
it's true. Sounds like we have answered that in the one above it. Ability of streams for disposal of effluents. See above. Applicable state and local health and water resource rules and regulations.
Isn't that,
Which say, Bruce?
they've been met.
Have been met. I make a motion that A, pollution, has been met.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that A, pollution has been met. All those in favor?
1, 2.
3. B, erosion. Proposed development will not cause unreasonable soil erosion or the reduction of the land's capacity to hold water so that a dangerous, unhealthy condition results.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant has submitted an erosion control plan as part of the application. And citing that submission, I make the motion that the erosion criteria approval has been met.
I'll second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded that erosion has been met. All those in favor?
1,
2.
3. C, traffic. Proposed development will not cause unreasonable highway or public road congestion or unsafe conditions with respect to the use of highways or public roads existing or proposed.
Chairman, I'll make the motion that section C, traffic for criteria approval does not apply to this application.
I'll second that motion.
The moved and seconded that section C, traffic is not applicable. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. D, sewage disposal. Proposed development will provide adequate sewage waste disposal and not cause an unreasonable burden on municipal services if they are utilized.
Mr. Chairman, whereas the applicant will be using their private sewage treatment facility, which is already in existence and has adequate capacity for this project, make the motion that criteria of approval for sewage disposal has been met.
Second that motion.
And moved and seconded that D, sewage disposal has been met. All those in favor?
1,
2,
3. E, municipal solid waste disposal. Proposed development will not cause an unreasonable burden on the town's ability to dispose of solid waste.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that whereas the applicant will be contracting with private waste haulers to deal with their solid waste from this project, that criteria of approval E, municipal solid waste disposal, has been met.
I'll second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded that municipal solid waste disposal has been met. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. F, aesthetic, cultural, and natural values. Proposed development will not have an undue adverse effect on the scenic or natural beauty of the area, aesthetics, historic sites, significant wildlife habitat identified by the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife or the town. Well,
Mr. Chairman, whereas over a period of several decades, this recreational area of which this site will be part of has never been identified as having scenic or natural significance, wildlife habitat significance by the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife or by any other municipal entity. I will make a motion that F, that aesthetic, cultural, and natural values have been met or do not apply.
I'll second that motion.
it has been moved and seconded that aesthetic, cultural, and natural values does not apply. All those in favor?
1,
2,
3. G, financial and technical capacity. The applicant has adequate financial and technical capacity to meet the standards of this ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the applicant has demonstrated sufficient financial and technical capacity to meet this requirement and criteria of approval.
I'll second that. It has been moved and seconded that G, financial and technical capacity has been met. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. H, sufficient water. The proposed development has sufficient water available for its reasonably foreseeable needs.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that sufficient water has been met through the already existing infrastructure for this proposed application.
It has been moved and seconded that sufficient water has been met. All those in favor?
Hasn't been seconded.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded that sufficient water has been met. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. I, public water supply is not applicable. That surface waters,
That is motion.
that's,
The attorney likes motions on criteria of approval.
so it's not,
It's different than.
it's
different from performance
standards.
standards.
Okay, never mind.
So are you making a motion on that one?
I will make a motion that public water supply is not applicable.
I'll second.
We moved and seconded that public water supply is not applicable. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. J, surface waters. Whenever it's situated entirely or partially within the watershed of any pond or lake within 250 feet of a wetland. I make a motion that J, surface waters is not applicable.
Second.
Seconded that J, surface waters is not applicable. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. K, groundwater. The proposed development will not, alone or in conjunction with existing activities, adversely affect the quality or quantity of groundwater. Everybody's quiet.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that K groundwater will not, in alone or in conjunction with existing activities that adversely affect the quality of the groundwater. That's right there of approval.
This project.
So what?
But this project will not adversely.
This project will not, yeah, proposed one will not, yeah, whatever, this project.
It's been moved and seconded that K
It's only been
groundwater.
moved.
So I seconded that.
What do you think?
It's been moved and seconded that groundwater has been met. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. Flood areas.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed application is not located within a Federal Emergency Management Agency flood boundary and floodway or flood insurance rate map, nor is it within the 100-year flood elevation and flood hazard boundary. And therefore, I would take the motion that flood areas do not apply.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that L, flood areas, does not apply. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. Freshwater wetlands, M. All freshwater wetlands within the proposed development have been identified on any map submitted as part of the application. I see no wetlands identified on the maps.
Motion.
Hmm?
A motion?
I make a motion that M, freshwater wetlands, is not applicable to this project.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded that M, freshwater wetlands, are not applicable to this project. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. River, stream, or brook. Any river, stream, or brook within or abutting the proposed development has been identified on any map submitted as part of the application.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that river, streams, or brooks within the abutting of proposed development have been identified and for this project and meets the criteria.
I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded that N, river, stream, or brook, has been identified. And what's the rest of that?
It's been identified for this project.
Okay, it's been identified for this project. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. Stormwater. Proposed development will provide for adequate stormwater management.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that the applicant has demonstrated stormwater management plan for this project. That meets the criteria.
I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded that the applicant has demonstrated.
And then he meets the criteria for O, stormwater.
Okay, criteria for stormwater management. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that subsection P, spaghetti lots prohibited, subsection Q, municipal services, subsection R, lake phosphorus concentration, subsection S, impact on adjoining municipalities, and subsection T, land subject to liquidation harvesting, does not apply to this application.
I'll second that motion.
It moved and seconded that sections P, Q, R, S, and T are not applicable to this application. All those in favor?
1, 2,
3. Oh, let's see. Conformity with local ordinances and plans. proposed development conforms with a duly adopted subdivision regulation or ordinance, comprehensive plan, development plan, or land use plan, if any. In making this determination, the planning board may interpret these ordinances and plans.
Is any board member aware of any ordinances that we have not covered tonight?
No, sir.
Not yet.
I'll make the motion that having duly reviewed performance standards in section 13, criteria approval requirements in section 5, and that the application is in conformity with local ordinances and plans.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that this application is in conformity with local ordinances and plans. All those in favor?
1,
2.
3. That's done. Next check mark says, the board moves with a formal motion to approve with conditions or deny the application.
Mr. Chairman, having duly reviewed the application against the Unified Development Review Ordinance, and having found it to be in compliance, and whereas no conditions of approval have been stipulated, I make the motion that the planning board approve application 24-283 Jordan Basin bathrooms.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve application number 24-283, bathroom building for Sunday River Skiway. All those in favor?
1,
2.
3.
how's that, Peter?
Thank you.
I don't know if you beat Joe or not, but you're pretty close.
I'll let Joe know that he beat me.
Joe didn't have to sit through performance standards.
Next one says the board confirms that each of the forms of the final application, forms 10-1, 10-2, 10-3, 10-4, have been signed.
And that,
We have the master.
yes, Becky has the master, yeah.
Okay. The board reviews and signs the final plans.
Do we have those, or?
You.
Being prepared.
It's a gamble.
Might have to move your water bottle.
I got you.
I do not have a black pen.
I'm pretty sure.
I do.
Yep, the guys do.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
We're gonna want
So are these gonna be all ready to go this winter?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna come up there and see them.
Use them?
Yeah.
You want to be there for the ribbon cutting ceremony?
Shall I pause the recorder while you guys sign?
Sure.
Yeah.
That way our jokes don't get carried over.
Yeah, the carpentry contractor was very disappointed in the bathroom arrangement last year. He's personally missed the project.
Yeah.
Who you contracting for this?
There's a general contractor in the Portland area that we're doing a lot of work with, called W.H.A.T Construction.
Big.
Yeah, and they basically provide project management and find local subcontractors.
They're doing the NTL building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the vice president of commercial construction grew up in Shelburne and went to Gould, so he's,
Well, it's interesting because Outward Bound looked at them to revitalize their to turn their boat shed into, or canoe barn into bathrooms. And it was like a $200,000
You're welcome.
project. It's like,
Let's do one more
yeah, they put a
edit.
couple toilets in there for chicken.
When I run down the bike trails at Mount Ebro, in my
Yeah,
head,
they're not cheap.
as they go around the corner.
Sometimes you get what you pay for though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and they say, you know, for what?
Yeah, it just reminds me.
Kill a mosquito with a sledgehammer.
My favorite was Kansas.
Large.
Yeah.
I got up there hiking, I went,
So this is just free, right?
it was real bad.
Just three.
I know.
Okay.
Joel, have you ran the, old Tower Line mountain bike trail?
No,
It's pretty crazy.
is it, can I find it easy enough? I was just
It's
looking
a
at your
little
mountains the other day.
Challenging to find.
Oh, all right, well, maybe you could help me out, and send me an email.
To get my wiggles out before this.
Okay.
And I got everything
All
at
right.
camp all ready.
Peter, may I ask you a
Ready to shut it
couple
down.
of general questions
No,
concerning
in
other
a month or so.
projects?
Do you want one copy or two?
Recording again.
Well,
I'll take it, I'll fold it.
So general questions, yes.
The glades at Ridge Run,
Yep.
is that still under declarant control?
No. The HOA took over that. 2019, I think.
And has the Sunday River transferred the roads to them?
If I remember correctly, Sunday River owns the roads and the easement. There's an easement allowing the HOA.
Okay, so there's no, unlike some of the other subdivisions, you're not planning to turn the roads over to them?
True.
So do I have,
Um,
you're gonna give me that?
That development in particular required a lot of rain gardens in the lots, which are doubtful whether they ever got constructed. And would it be a fair assessment to say that that's aggravating the stormwater running down the west branch of Barker Brook and therefore helping with the washout on Skiway Road?
Without preparing any data, let's say, from a qualitative perspective, yes.
Should have built a bridge.
No,
Should have built a bridge.
well, no, it's just, I'm just, it's been, stormwater has become a very big, and sure, big part of your life in the last year. And we have a lot of subdivisions that had a lot of provisions for things like this that never get put in, and therefore now we're paying the price.
Yeah.
I don't know if Sunday River's in any position to lean on having those rain gardens established.
Well, there's a couple different approaches to subdivision, to meeting stormwater standards and subdivisions. One is for the declarant / applicant to build the stormwater infrastructure and then incorporate that into the price of the lot when it gets sold. And then the other way to do it is to, in theory, discount the lot and put the burden on the homeowner, which is how that subdivision was approached. Each of those owners signed at closing an acknowledgement that they had read through all those requirements.
I'm sure they did.
I'm sure they excruciating detail. Were we to do another subdivision, maybe it'd be worth taking a look at doing something differently.
Yeah, that would be much, I think that would be called for.
I think that one, now that it's moved out of the declarant's control period, it's legally not a whole lot we can do other than make some phone calls and remind people.
Now, what about Merle Hill? Are there any plans for paving the lower portion of Merle Hill?
Yep, it's been discussed quite a bit, I think.
Yeah.
Is that the Savage piece?
Not just
Talking
plan.
about-
It's, Savage owns the lot, so they are not the.
They don't own the infrastructure or the roads.
Correct.
I think there's been discussion between you and Dana, right?
Yep.
That's the paving of those was a condition of approval, I believe.
Yes, yeah.
So the only other issue that for future planning, the building footprint restrictions that DEP normally places on a lot are not being really observed by
I think you mean the building envelope,
the building envelope.
Yeah.
The building envelope.
the 20,000 square foot.
And I know, again, once the developer sells a lot, it's out of your hands, although certainly any future developments that come our way from the skiway, we want to look at ways that we can augment insurance, that those building envelopes are observed and not excessively cleared.
Each homeowner has to submit a site plan to the architectural review board, which in the declarant's control period is Sunday River employees, and then that gets turned over to the homeowners association. And each of those site plans has to demonstrate tree clearing limits that conform to that requirement. And then if those are violated, that should be the homeowners association dealing with that as a violation of the HOA covenants.
Well, there's some pretty obvious violations up on Merle Hill and whatnot. Are there any actions being taken on that? Or not?
I believe there were some.
I have 2 that are on a replant schedule. There are others that the homeowners association has not done anything with. Yeah.
But that's still in the declarant review.
Correct.
The declarant control
Sorry.
period, right?
Wrong word, correct, yeah.
So the skiway still has a lot of say in the HOA.
Yeah, and I don't want to make promises on behalf of Dana and Scott.
I
but
understand that.
I believe as an enforcement issue,
Yeah.
if you see issues, then
Yep.
we have the power as the declarant to, cite them for violating the covenants.
Yep.
Right, but unfortunately, with tree clearing, after the fact,
Takes about
enforcement
50 years
is
for it to look the same.
kind of, the damage has been done, so, okay, appreciate your time.
Yeah, I think if we subdivide in the future, which probably will happen, then you probably need to sit down in a pre-application meeting and discuss what your expectations would be for better ways to enforce or hold the homeowners accountable.
And I think that could be said also for maybe code enforcement. We know DEP's not gonna show up and enforce anything, because they haven't. And
Yeah, they went through about a 5-year period of time where they were grossly understaffed, and they've onboarded actually a whole bunch of new, younger people in the
Excellent.
last 6 months. And so I think we'll see in the next 2 years, as those people come up to speed, some of this stuff getting enforced again, if they don't quit.
That would be wonderful. I would appreciate the help, that's for sure.
But I've gotten letters and emails from a bunch of people that
Okay.
I've never heard of before, so I know, and I've talked to other people. I know Bureau of Water Quality.
Yeah.
We've got new wastewater treatment plant inspectors on board that are, they're training.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, it certainly is something that enforcement from my side, DEP side, and help with the declarant as we work through. Now that especially now that we've seen what the December and May storms can do to public as well as private roads. They need, the HOAs, we need to find some way to get some teeth in there, I think, for the developer as well as enforcement after the fact.
And I don't know off the top of my head what the HOA's power is as far as like issuing any sort of like fines or anything like that. I don't know.
Some HOAs are better than others around town, yeah.
And so I don't know if that's, you put more of that burden on the HOA, but give them more power to issue more fines. I think maybe.
The HOAs by their nature are not conducive towards enforcement actions. And then the tools that they have available to them are primarily court,
Right, yeah.
which,
Yeah, we'll have to, maybe we can brainstorm on that.
I'm sure if you've seen other subdivisions, even in other towns where they've addressed the problem better, I think that'd be something that, rather than try to reinvent the wheel with
Yeah.
our lawyers, maybe just see what worked.
Yeah, lawyers don't help things. Okay.
because we're unique in that with our subdivisions here are all very mountainous, and so stormwater management here takes on a whole different meaning than a subdivision and the flat land.
And the prominence of overcleared lots is more noticeable.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thanks, Peter.
Have a good night.
You too.
Good night. Number 6, findings of facts. Pines Group LLC is crossed out, removed until the 18th, September 18th meeting. Okay?
I have nothing for Lock Summit. They have not, we're waiting on their DEP transfer, and DEP still has not provided that to Lock Summit yet.
Okay, so the Newry side of that project.
Correct.
Okay? Election of officers.
So at the last meeting, Mr. Chairman, I request that you consider standing down as chairperson. And just wanted to, I guess, first of all, you kind of did not seem opposed to that.
No, I'm not.
So is that still holding true?
Yeah, I want Rob's seat. That's where I started, I don't know how many years ago. I never,
Never meant to come this far?
no, that's exactly the case, yes. Yeah, I got here because the guy on my left abruptly quit one night. A couple of meetings later, the guy on my right abruptly quit, and suddenly it was me and Becky.
Yeah.
So before we move on to election of officers, I guess you formally need to step down.
Okay.
If that's, you know, again, this is a voluntary action.
Okay. Never did that before. At this time, I request that I be relieved of my duties as a chairman of the planning board. How's that sound?
Sounds like you're stepping down.
Okay. And, seeing I've stepped down, it's your turn to step up. So, I guess you can call.
You throwing this one on me now?
You can make a nomination, Gooch,
I can make a nomination to,
to be chair, whoever wants to, first, whoever you recommend as chair.
oh,
You're still a full member.
I'm still a full member.
Unless you're resigning from the board. Which was not the,
Well, I wasn't planning on
and
that.
that wasn't the
That
request
wasn't the,
either.
no, that wasn't the intent.
So if you've stood down as chairperson for the rest of the meeting,
Right, Bruce is
Bruce
chair.
is now the chairperson and takes us into elections.
I didn't come prepared.
It was on the agenda.
I know, but
But you haven't got a tie or a tux.
no. Okay, as acting chair of the Newry Planning Board, I would like to open this meeting on the, on the agenda, the elections for the planning board. Do I have any nominations for any seats? I'd like to make a motion to have Ted Baker.
It's called a nomination.
I'd like to nominate Ted Baker for planning board chair.
So can I still vote?
You are a full member.
You're a full member.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll second that.
Excellent. So it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I will accept the nomination.
Hearing none. All those in favor?
1.
2.
Abstain.
Oh, all right, well, you got
You
a
have a
number,
quorum.
man, you know, you're in. So now you can take over.
No, you can continue on with actions. We need a vice chair and
You have to do all of it? Oh, well, you need a secretary,
You need a secretary.
because now you don't have a secretary.
I am not gonna be a secretary, I will promise you, because
I don't think you, because you're remaining as vice chair, right?
I would stay in
Well,
the seat.
we have to basically go through, I think, all three elections.
You do, even though that
No, maybe
vice chair
not.
was never
All right.
vacated?
Well, then I will, if that's the case, we'll, then, since the secretary position is vacant, I will nominate Gooch as the secretary of the planning board.
I refuse. Can I do that?
Yeah, why not?
Guess what, Bruce, you have two titles.
No, you can.
Like I said, I mean, I'm not equipped to be secretary. I mean, for what I have, you know, for my capabilities and knowing what I know for me, secretary is not what you really want from me. So I will decline the offer. So,
That leaves secretary vacant.
Yes, it would.
No, you can nominate Ron. Or,
Well,
no,
they're-
because you
they're
have to be a
alternates.
voting
They're
member.
not full members of the board.
Right, so somebody.
Can
has
we
to step
expand,
down.
can we expand the voting members of the planning board?
Not without changing the bylaws of the ordinance.
No, the ordinance, you gotta change the ordinance.
And that's a select board thing.
That's a sleep.
When do they meet?
Last night.
I mean, what, we used to have, we had five, we used to have five, right?
5 and 2.
Yeah. Yeah,
But we struggled getting members.
you're right, I mean,
There's nobody been beating on my door to be more alternates, just so you know.
Well, if Rob will step up, I'll be an alternate. But he can't step up
Do
unless,
you have another one here too, you know, like,
well, it's true.
Okay, so I think the way that works, Gooch, is you would have to resign the board. The two official full-time members would talk to the two alternates, move one of them up
Well, no, we'd have to recommend to the select
to the
board.
select board, right, yes. And then you would have to apply to be an alternate to the select board. Do I have that right?
I think that's,
Okay. Yeah, we can't just shuffle the deck independently. We have to get select board approval.
that's not in the bylaws?
Yeah,
and the ordinance, more importantly, the ordinance.
yeah.
yeah, the bylaws you guys can do on your own.
Yeah, we can do in-house on
The
the
ordinance,
bylaws, but
that's
I think we gotta change the ordinance to allow more flexibility in the bylaws. But anyway,
Well,
So if,
the,
I'm just wondering, like, when Gooch steps down to be alternate, will one of you step up to be full board member and then the secretary?
well,
Meredith isn't saying much of it.
I'm listening, I'm taking all. I'm also
all right,
reading.
so to reinforce what Joelle said, Gooch, you'd have to resign from the board
Okay,
outright. Then the town would approach either alternate to see if they are willing to step up to being appointed a full member. They don't have to. When the town can't automatically promote them. So
Is the
they,
pay better? The pay might be better.
It's all equal. I asked the same question.
so it could be that if both alternates are happy being alternates and have no desire to become a full member of the board, that the board would then operate with a vacancy until we can find a new full member of the board.
and you can only have two alternates then?
And at each meeting, would one of them be voted in as a voting member?
And one of them would have,
Okay.
Yeah,
so if we had an application
Mhm.
come before us, then one of them would have to commit to,
They could alternate.
You wouldn't have to because you do have a quorum.
well, we do have a quorum,
Right.
but ideally, you'd elevate one of them into the voting.
and that's the idea of the alternates, if one board member, voting board member is not,
Right.
they're,
Right.
There was one time you were out,
Yeah.
so I had all kinds of fun.
I know, well,
Yeah, you had a great, so
Well-
nobody's looked at Rob and said, well, Meredith is, I think was, it's safe to say that you would like just to stay as an alternate.
Do we have volunteers?
Well, I guess there was some discussion that he came before she did.
Yeah, all of 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's all it was.
That's all it takes for
That
twins.
doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
So, then,
Are you,
The short answer is no. I've been on the board as an alternate for all of 8 months. We've been through, I guess, 1.5 applications, and that first one was one heck of a mess. So I am seriously not comfortable
So,
at this time.
so,
Okay,
but also, if we look at the roles of the positions and how the work is delegated out, secretary isn't doing much.
That's what I was reading in the bylaws, what the secretary's doing.
There's, what's in the bylaws and what's being in practice right now are two different
That's
things.
because we have wonderful Becky, to be quite honest.
And
Meredith
and Joel.
Well,
Meredith, would you be interested in becoming a voting board member and the secretary? I'm gonna be blunt here.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, you've got a couple weeks.
By the next meeting, would you?
Remember when I said I've only been here 8 months?
Yeah.
8 months and 5 minutes.
Yeah.
right, yeah,
7 months in.
Yeah.
right.
Although, Meredith, you were actually attending before I even showed up the very
Yes,
first
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
You've actually seen more
Yeah.
than me. I showed up end
Yeah.
of December or
Got
something.
handed an application, said, here you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was kind of like, what? So,
living up your road in December? You actually showed up?
yeah, well, I showed up and on my road
Anyway,
in the winter. I still showed up there.
the point I'd like to make is that there isn't a burden on the position, on any of these positions, other than the burden you want to place on yourself.
It's true.
But what I'm trying to figure out is, can I do one of these roles? I mean, I'm still like, you know,
Yeah.
And I'm not-
Still
I'm
question
not
my
there yet.
abilities too.
Every single one of them is a puzzle.
I've seen one, so I don't know. I mean, I'm a very much a pattern matcher. That's what I do. So I'm not there yet to see the patterns, to understand the flow.
Can the
So,
secretary be
Gentlemen,
vacant?
yeah, go.
Can the secretary be vacant, even though there's 3 members?
Well, that's,
Because it doesn't say.
guess what, it doesn't say, but hey, you got 3 members and you got 3 positions, that means each one of us gets to be one.
and it, like Meredith said, Gooch, you're not doing anything in secretary.
Yeah, I just, sounds like Becky. And Joel.
You know, I mean, and I, like, for me, like, my decline is because I said that if I'm ever on any board, I will not be secretary and I will not be treasurer. You know, and that's just my, only because I know,
Well, in order to keep the board going, because I know there's gonna be another application, because Peter said so,
It's already here.
it's already here. I'll be secretary until we come up with a better idea, is that
I
allowed?
will make the nomination that, I will nominate Gooch as secretary of the board.
and I will happily second that motion.
Okay.
All those in favor?
1,
2,
3.
don't be so overjoyed, you know?
Speech, speech.
all right.
All right.
So am I still in charge, or are you taking over what?
No, I'm the chairperson now.
Okay, I'll be.
God forbid.
The only speech I'm gonna give is, my brain is not as good as it used to be.
Gooch, you've served a long
Yeah.
time on the board, and we are very grateful for that. We appreciate that you're staying on because your wealth of knowledge is.
And you say, yeah, you definitely have a
Yeah.
history of wealth of knowledge for
Yeah.
us, so I'm appreciative of it too.
Do we have any, now that the election, you hereby move that elections are closed? Do we move on to open business? Do we have any open business to discuss? There is a planning board, Board of Appeals training seminar being put on by Maine Municipal in October, I believe.
Is it in person or?
It's both, this one is, it's in Augusta. I went to the one last year in Augusta, it's well worth your time. This one is also being Zoomed, so you have your choice of doing one or the other. I've done both. Granted, when I did the Zoom, I was much wetter behind the ear than I am now. But I found the in-person one to be much more beneficial, but that was just me. But either or.
What's the date? Did you say the date? I don't know it off the top of my head. Okay, but you'll mail. I can email that out, yeah.
If it's like any of these other state things, the first time you go in, it's like, oh my God, what am I getting myself into? The second time, the
Well,
lights
It's on Thursday, October 10th.
October 10th.
And it runs from 4:30 PM to 8:30 PM. If you go in person, you get a free dinner. If you stay at home, well, God knows if you're paying attention or not anyway, so.
What was it, October what?
October 10th.
If anybody that wants to go, please let me know, or Zoom, so I can get that, your emails registered.
I can't go, I've got a prior commitment.
Let me know what your schedule looks like, Mary.
Yeah.
You've already done one? Thought so, okay.
Depending on how's our budget situation anyway.
It's training, it'll get covered.
There we get covered.
I don't think we spent.
I'll confirm with you, but I will probably go
Okay, good, okay.
again.
Yep.
Any other new business to discuss?
I have a question. Is there one of these for criteria of approval?
Not yet.
You know,
Are you volunteering?
No, but I think it would be helpful.
Yes, it would be helpful, and we probably, as an open discussion, for not tonight, but some other date, talk about how to expedite the review process in order to yet still cover the basis.
Right, when you need a motion, when you don't. Is that
I
what
like that idea.
That 10.5 that came out, that the performance, I put that together because we were basically not looking at the performance standards when reviewing an application. And while a lot of the performance standards are enforcement-based, there are several that are review-based. And so, but also some criteria of approval double up the performance standard. So what's needed is to identify the performance standards that are already supporting a criteria of approval and probably move them in together so that we can not have to.
So would a new one here be added with 10.5 in there? You know, like the.
Well, it's already in there.
It's not listed as 10.5.
It's not listed as 10.5.
Right, it's in the performance standards, but I mean, like on the, this is the shoreline zoning one, but the review tracking, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 in there, would we put 5 in?
Yes. Right.
Okay, so that will come
Or
out on that
6.
What?
Well, it's not for the
Well, this
shoreline
is
zone.
that, but it's.
No, he's just using it
This
as an
one's-
example.
Yeah.
Right.
But you don't need
The
to vote on
10.5.
this because it's an internal document.
That was the intent, was that, we're still wrestling with that, as you saw tonight, as to how to best review that, make sure that they're in conformance.
Well, that was my next question is, when you make the motions, is it best practice to list a specific document that is the fact that supports the approval of that, or?
Yes,
'Cause I notice sometimes we do that and sometimes we don't.
yes,
So I was
that's
curious.
a very good observation. We need, ideally, every motion is supported by one or more findings of fact.
Right, so when you get the findings of fact document, yeah, next meeting, that I'm gonna do for the Pines and now for Peters, I have a lot of work ahead of me, thank you guys.
Well, we're done with the pines, we're done.
Well, that means I have.
Hold your breath.
See. Anyways, you'll go through that, and when
you see the motions for the criteria of approval and stuff, you'll see like the finding of fact. That should be the fact that, you know, you guys talk about, and then the motion itself.
So it doesn't have to be part of the motion, but it should be discussed, or
It should be
part of the motion?
pointed out.
Either or,
So
I,
like,
yeah.
you know, because of this, that's why I'm moving that this is met.
Yeah.
Because of this, that's why I'm moving.
Yeah, I think
So,
in an approach would be to make the motion, but before you vote, go into the discussion. And in doing the discussion is establish the findings of fact.
yeah. But it gets separated out in the finding of facts document, because in the findings of facts document, I don't detail discussions.
Right, so that's why very often when I make a motion, I'll put the whereas in there,
Yes, I love that.
which establishes
Yeah.
the reason for the motion. So that would be the other way to do it, is you make the motion with your findings of fact incorporated into the motion.
Right, that's what I was.
It requires, speaking from experience, pre-planning to do that, which means what we should already be doing, reviewing these applications prior to the meeting so that we can just do that, answer any questions that we have, and then go forward to that. One other item, aspect that I'm thinking about, and again, this is stuff to mull over in your mind and we can discuss about later, is I see the application review process as actually two independent reviews. One is a review for completeness. Is the application meet the completeness standards set up by our ordinance? Not quality. Has the applicant submitted something for each of those submission standards?
Everything to move forward with that.
And once the application is complete, then we now have to go back and look at the quality of the submission to make sure that it is in conformance, that the applicant is meeting the standards of the ordinance. Very often, especially when I first started up, we would be jumbling both together.
The checklist pretty much lays that out now, though, right?
Yes.
It's getting a lot better with
It's
that.
moved a lot better towards that. But here's a twist that I would like some feedback on in future meetings. Once the application is deemed complete, there will be no further modifications to the application.
For each form, yeah,
Once the application is voted complete,
yeah,
that means 10-1, 10-2, 10-3, and 10-4.
yeah.
There will be no more modifications or submissions by the applicant.
So they can't come in and say like, oh, wait a minute, I wanna,
Right.
yeah.
Can you give like a theoretical example?
The just finished application changed the phasing plan after the application has been deemed complete.
So we would have made them resubmit the entire thing, or just that one section of like 10 point, whatever was part of?
At that, well, this is what we need to work out.
Yeah.
This is what we need to work out. I tend to probably be a little bit on the harder side and say, hey, you submitted this, it is in compliance with the ordinance, it's not in compliance with the ordinance. If it's not in compliance with the ordinance, the application probably will be disapproved.
And not filed complete until they,
And they have to then resubmit.
I agree to make it really clear to people when they come in.
Yes, that goes into a little bit of offense is the best defense. So either through a preliminary meeting, which is strictly off, it's not off the record, but it's not part of the review process.
Right.
Explain to the applicant that their obligation to submit a submit something that is, that, you know, they've looked at the ordinance and they're answering all those questions. Or, you know, or they say, hey, this is, like, tonight, performance guarantees didn't make any sense. So the applicant requested a waiver for that.
So where Peter came in with a pre-application meeting,
Right, I
right?
think you-
This is where all this stuff gets hashed out and.
Well,
the
yes and
information gets-
no. Let's not take the applicant by the hand and say, here, if you do this,
No, I'm just saying, like, this is what we're expecting of you if you're
Yeah.
gonna come back with your application, and this is it, because like I say, it's more or less a non-formal or an informal meeting of what they want to present to the board.
We don't wanna go back to the liaison days.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, but so, then we're going to tell the applicant that these are the things that you are required to have when you come in for your application. If you don't have them, then
and make it.
you're bad, so sad.
If we decide to go with this clear boundary or transition from review for completeness to review for compliance, and no changes after you're deemed complete, we have to make that very clear to the applicant, say, make sure that you've got your I's dotted and your T's crossed,
Right. Yeah.
because once it's deemed complete, you're not changing anything.
Right, and also reiterate the importance of the optional pre-application meeting. 'Cause I think
Yes.
that helps.
Yeah, which is already stressed in the
It's the first thing they open on our
prelude
website.
Well, that's what I'm saying, the pre-application meeting is the information meeting for both parties.
A lot of times applicants will use me as their sounding board. Well, what if I come with this and this and this and this? Is the board gonna be satisfied? I can't, and I will not make that determination. I turn them down immediately. I will not make a judgment that I don't get a vote on. I won't do it. I can't
Nor
vote their
should you.
hand either.
Nor should you.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you can advise them to say, if you're going to come to a pre-application meeting,
You know how many times I have told applicants, we have a fastidious board, we have a board that dots every I and crosses every T. You see what gets submitted, they don't listen, so,
yeah.
I like the preliminary meeting a lot, huh?
Is a preliminary the same thing as a pre-application?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, or
Okay.
using the words
All right.
interchangeably.
Okay.
Copy and Xerox.
Copy and Xerox, yeah,
We
same, means the
really
same
need
thing.
to do a process for what happens if you have a complete application. We look at it and say, yeah, you got problems. Then what? Do we have to resubmit the whole thing? We have to have a process.
We do have to think about that process.
Yeah, because that's gonna be the thing that bites us. is
Yeah.
But is it something
what
that
happens when it
we
doesn't get through.
give these applicants a hard copy saying this is what you, I mean, they have that though, right? Because
Yeah, they have this, everything's available. to them.
The tough thing to bite and chew on here is going from a village-friendly board
Right.
to a review board. In the village-friendly board, we take the applicant by the hand and say, this isn't quite, may cut the mustard, you need to improve this a little bit. Where a review board says, this is your submittal, okay, yep, you got it. Or, sorry, you're not in conformance for this reason.
Yeah, we'll give them definitive answers. It is tough, but we are no longer little Newry. We may only have 400 citizens that vote, but, we have a development footprint that's very big.
huge.
So I have a question. So when you look at it and you say, nope, you're not in compliance for this reason, is that as far as you go? Or do you continue and then you can say, for this reason, and this reason, and this reason, and that reason? So that when they do resubmit a new application, they can fix all those problems?
Yes,
And they're not,
yes. It's
Every
the same
time
thing,
getting
the
knocked
same
down.
thing with the review for completeness.
yeah.
Ideally, we have one review for completeness. Every member of the board gets a chance to identify weaknesses or questions on the completeness. And the applicant walks out with a list, complete list of, if they check out each of these items, they will have a complete, not necessarily an approved, but a complete application. And we can then move on to, does the application conform with the ordinance?
Things to think about.
So for instance, hypothetically, the applicant comes in and has a phasing plan and says phase 2 through 5 will be as economic conditions exist. Or permit, I should say.
Permit.
As economic conditions permit. Well, the ordinance says you can't have an open-ended phasing plan. The ordinance is quite specific, it says phasing plans must have a start and an end. So, in the review process, phasing plan, oh, you got a phasing plan, okay, check mark.
In the review for completeness.
In the review for complete. In the review for compliance, that's when you say, we're sorry, your phasing plan does not meet the standards of the ordinance, therefore we cannot approve your application. Tough, that's a tough one. Before we go down that way, we want to make sure that that's what we want to be doing.
But in the pre-application meeting, if they were to ask about their phasing plan, would you answer them based on?
We would, in general standards, as
Tell them what the standard is.
what, hey, the phasing plan has to be defined.
This is where it has to meet this review.
If it covers required improvements, or if there are required improvements that run through the entire development, then a phasing plan should address the portion of the required improvements that will be included in that phasing plan to avoid a built-out development, yet required improvements haven't been completed.
Like no underground power. Like, okay, how do you sell them that lot?
The same thing with the, so the phasing plan probably should be moved up in the checkoff list so that it's discussed before an application is deemed complete.
Yeah.
Checkoff list even actually talk about phasing?
No, it does not, because it's not a submission requirement.
Right, it is not.
So there are things that are,
We can go to legal size paper on this, but that's.
Yes, we can.
Type as little as I can
If
type.
you do
Yeah,
this, follow
well,
this. if you
either
do
legal
that, go
side or
here.
double-sided paper.
Yeah.
There's enough 70-year-olds here, you don't go near any smaller. Yeah.
Hey, 54, I put glasses on for that.
It's all of us. I have a lot of problems now with small.
So without prolonging this discussion further now, please think about some ideas here. And is there merit to having a strong border between application complete and application in compliance?
Or do we, yeah, okay.
Well, I mean,
I'll hold my suggestion for later.
but if we can
get out
do
of
that, then I think it will not drag these things out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty. I have done my share of dragging out these meetings. And I go home feeling like a heel because I've done it.
One of my previous towns required the prelim meeting, automatic.
Well, that was another question.
Yeah.
Can you require it?
Wait.
I don't see why we couldn't.
Well,
Or require
That's-
for certain?
that would have, it would be a change to the ordinance.
Yeah. And there's nothing that townspeople love more than us voting on ordinances every year at the town meeting.
The last town meeting was a rather
Pretty well, though.
It wasn't an anomaly.
Yeah.
All right.
So can I, just before you wrap up completely, and because I've been working away at the findings of facts, because I knew that if I didn't, I think it would be something we're going to Not, I don't wanna spend my vacation. So when, because I know that I have it on here about allowing the applicant time to explain their submission. I just want to emphasize the submissions at each meeting, because what I'm finding with the findings of facts is when I go through and I'm tracking the documentation that was submitted and stuff, you'll see on this, I try to put like at which meeting it was discussed or something, so if people want to listen to the minutes and hear it. So you'll see some of them, it's just, it says, was not discussed, because things were submitted and not even mentioned on the recorder.
Okay, so you're saying new things, additional items were submitted?
Yeah, so
And-
whether it was like a letter that
Yeah,
was
I
put
think,
here
that-
in
yeah,
our
I know
thing,
exactly.
or just Joelle copying things to put, in front of us. Like I receive things and I figure out which application to go to. If it doesn't go to an application, it doesn't really matter. But if it pertains to an application, so a lot of times I'll put the date of the meeting that I got it, and it wasn't talked about, but I get the impression that it's gonna be talked about at the next meeting, but then it's not talked about at that meeting either. And it's like, oh, and then it still goes in the file, and it's still recorded on there, it's just never talked about on the record.
Okay, so at the start of,
Whenever the applicant
And
starts
each-
their topic.
when we go to that line of business,
Yeah,
is to identify any new submissions,
yeah, whatever's.
correspondence,
for
et cetera, that
Yep.
has come in,
For that.
Since the
for
last
that
meeting.
application, Since the last meeting, yes.
and then also give the applicant a chance to
To,
chime.
right, to spell upon it or whatever, just clarify it, stuff a little bit if they want, but, yeah.
So besides the flow of a review that we talked about and the application complete versus application in compliance discussion, the other discussion that I would like to get feedback from is public participation during the review process.
Right, that's usually not, only
Well,
at the
we-
public hearing.
You know,
Right,
we've had a strict policy, I'm not saying I don't want to have a strict policy, but we've also had a situation where we've had multiple people representing an application, and, which then gets, perhaps interferes a little bit with the review process.
right. So if it is the applicant, or if the applicant has hired an agent, then it should be just the one person with the board.
Right.
Unless it's the public hearing, then.
Well, if it's a public hearing, then,
Right.
well,
But when
yes,
they're
yes
called
and no,
upon-
that's it, so that's a whole separate bailiwick. No.
Right, when they're called upon, they can talk, they just can't talk.
That's a whole
Oh, right,
separate-
right.
All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Hold it.
Oh,
Yes.
About the next meeting.
well, that's part of the adjournment, isn't it?
No, that's, I don't
Not according to
know, your
this.
agenda.
Oh, okay.
Schedule the next meeting,
The next meeting is
The 18th.
the 18th, and we do have business on,
We do.
We do have new
I do
business.
have hard copies if you guys would like to take the next application submission with you. Or I can.
now, the next meeting
It'll make it
is,
easier.
if we're referring to Sunday River, that is a pre-application.
Correct, do you want to take it with you?
So be aware that it's just a pre-application.
Yeah,
But
This
if
is
you
for the
want to
other
take it with you.
project that they're doing.
they did submit plenty of
but we
copies.
can't talk about it, whatever,
Yeah.
because they're
Right.
not here, so.
Right, yeah, but so I can
But
hand out hard
take-
copies if
yeah.
anybody would like to
Take
take
the
them.
copies home and go through them.
Okay,
You can't discuss it without that.
So
Just
the
take a
next-
trip to the mailbox.
The next meeting is September 18th, and we do have new business at that meeting. Is there anything else for the agenda for the next meeting?
Thank you.
no,
Well, that would
let's
be finding of facts for two applications.
Findings
Right,
of
I'll
fact,
copy.
okay.
Can you go, ma'am? Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, now may I entertain a motion to adjourn?
You may.
No.
I'll second.
No, I need the motion first.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the September 4th planning board meeting.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn the September 4th meeting of the Newry Planning Board. All those in favor?
1,
2, 3. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
At some future meeting, I'd like to cover which things we have to read out the text of the.
Bigger
Thanks for
bag.
recording us, Thanks for recording us.
You're welcome.
It's been a while.
Have a good night.
Let the public see all the exciting things
Bye,
happening.
Meredith.
Night, Meredith.